Assalamu alaikum everyone, and today we are going to talk about mainly asymptotes, but we are also going to be covering rational functions. So let's begin. Now, yes, in our algebra series we are covering logarithms, and yes, there will be more logarithm videos, but this graphing is also important. So we learned graphing functions we learned how to graph higher degree polynomials. Now we are going to graph rational functions. So we're taking it into a higher level. Now, what is exactly a rational function? Well, a rational function is something like this. It can be very difficult because it can be very difficult to predict what it will look like, other than the stuff that we are used to, like in the y equals to mx plus b linear functions way back in our algebra series. But here we're taking it to such a level that it is very hard to predict what will actually be going on, because the input or the domain of the function will not be all real numbers like we're used to in algebra right now currently. That's because the denominator cannot be a zero. So in this case, since the denominator is x plus 5, x cannot be equal to -5 at all, because the denominator can't be a zero. That's why it's hard to predict. Now, surely we're new to this, right? Like, not all real numbers. This can be very hard to depict. Now, like, we are used to the stuff that we learned previously. Now, since this is a totally new thing, let's start with the easiest example. Y equals to 1 over x. Now, how can we graph this? I'm showing you that right now. Now, since y equals to 1 over x, x cannot be equal to 0, because that means the denominator will be the 0, which can't happen. Now, let's do a few calculations, perhaps, and find out some of the values. Like, when x is equal to 1, then y will also equal to 1. But let's start with the negative side. So if we start from the negative side, it would be -1. So that's 1. Then if we use y equals to 1 over -2, it'll certainly be -1/2, which will be right here. Now, when y equals to 1 over -3, which means x equals to -3, it'll be 1 over -3. And 1/4 will be 1/4. So that's the first graph, which soon will be approaching -infinity. So x will approach -infinity only if the function approaches 0, while the function is approaching 0. Now, let's go to the other side of what will happen, and let's put in y equals to 1 over -1/2, blah blah blah, the same thing, and that's exactly what will happen. It's going to go down. Now, it's the exact same thing on the positive side, except the values are gonna be different. So this is a function of a simple graph, like y equals to 1x. Now these are just some breakdowns of some things. You can, when you get used to these type of functions, you'll probably, and I mean probably, get used to this and memorize it. Now, in our previous function, we saw that y equal to 0 and x equal to 0 will not be possible. It will approach to it but never touch it. Like it's approaching this like this finger is approaching this finger but never actually touching it. The same way they won't touch, which is called an asymptote. The main, the main objective of today's video. Now, asymptotes could be vertical, horizontal, or tilted. Now, y equals to 1 over x squared minus 9 is one of these functions, and now we're going to see the asymptotes. Now, there will be two horizontal asymptotes, which, let me choose the graph here, which will be -3 and +3 because of the factors. And we have this equation, and if the denominator is bigger, then there will be one horizontal asymptote. If n is smaller, then none. If n is equal to m, then a over b will be the asymptote. And in here, it means that there is an asymptote. Following by all these stuff, we can, after a few calculations, understand that this will be what the graph looks like. Now in the board, they might be touching because I don't have my scale right now. But we can see that a function can cross an asymptote. Doesn't mean it's touching it though, but a function can cross one of these asymptotes. So that's all that is going to do for today's video. If you want more of these math and science videos, and more coming soon, like physics, which will be fun, and also trigonometry and calculus, that will also come, which is very difficult topics. We're also covering trigonometry, so if you want more of these videos explaining a few certain things about math and science, remember to subscribe and leave a like down below and comment if my videos are helpful, or if you have any questions, or generally about anything. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!